The knock at my door comes at exactly 9:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. 3 sharp raps, then silence. When I open it, the sight nearly makes me laugh. My perfectly coiffed mother with mascara tracks down her cheeks, my father's usual pressed shirt wrinkled beyond recognition, and my brother Jonah looking like he hasn't slept in days. "We need to move home," Jonah says, his voice cracking. "My name is Rosalie, and I've been waiting for this moment for 7 years. Come in," I say, stepping aside. The contrast between their disheveled appearance and my pristine living room couldn't be more stark. I gesture to the leather sofa, the one I bought with my first bonus as senior marketing director. "Rosie, sweetheart," my mother starts, using the diminutive I've asked her repeatedly to drop. "We've had some difficulties." "Difficulties?" I keep my voice neutral, remembering the meditation techniques that got me through the past 7 years. "The market crashed," Jonah blurts out. "Everything's gone. The investments, the houses, even Mom and Dad's place." I sit across from them, crossing my legs. "Everything?" "Including the land," my father adds quietly. "The land. Of course, I feel a familiar tightness in my chest as I'm thrown back to that day, 7 years ago, sitting at our family's oak dining table. "It's just a tax simplification, Rosie," Mom had said, sliding the papers toward me. "You know your brother is better with the financial aspects. It'll still be family land." I remember how Jonah stood behind her, arms crossed, that patronizing smile on his face. "Come on, sis. You know I'll take care of everything. When have I ever steered us wrong? You're just—" Dad had paused, choosing his words carefully. "You're not quite ready for this kind of responsibility, sweetheart. Remember that art gallery idea of yours?" The memory of their synchronized head-shaking still burns. "Sign here," Mom had pointed. "And here. It's still our land. We're just putting it under Jonah's name to simplify things." I'd known, even then, that something wasn't right, but years of being told I was flighty, irresponsible, too emotional, it does something to a person, makes you doubt every instinct. Back in the present, I watch them squirm on my sofa. "So," I say slowly, "you need somewhere to stay?" "Just until we get back on our feet," Jonah says quickly. "A few months, tops. We can use the cottage on the old property." "The cottage?" I raise an eyebrow. "On the land I signed over?" Well, yes," Mom says, waving her hand dismissively. "But that was just paperwork, darling. You know it's still family land." I stand up and walk to my desk, pulling out a folder I've kept ready for years. "Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about that land." "What's to talk about?" Jonah's voice has an edge now. "It was a family decision." "Funny thing about decisions," I say, opening the folder. "They have consequences, Rosalie," Dad warns, using my full name for the first time in years. "Don't be difficult." I lay out 3 documents on the coffee table. The first is the transfer deed I signed. The second is a loan agreement dated 1 week later, using the land as collateral. The third is a recent property record. "What's this?" Mom picks up the third document, squinting at it. "That," I say, feeling 7 years of preparation culminating in this moment, "is proof that technically none of you have any claim to that land anymore." Jonah snatches the paper from Mom. His face goes from red to white in seconds. "This can't be legal." "Oh, but it is." I smile, remembering all the nights I spent with Tiffany, my attorney, finding the loophole. "You see, when you used the land as collateral without telling me, you triggered a clause that invalidated the original transfer. And when the bank foreclosed. I spread my hands. Well, let's just say I had first right of refusal. You're bluffing. Jonah stands up, towering over me like he used to when we were kids. But I'm not that girl anymore. Try me, I say softly. Or better yet, drive out there tomorrow. See for yourself. Mom starts crying again. Dad looks like he's aged 10 years in 10 minutes. And Jonah, well, Jonah looks exactly like I did 7 years ago when I realized what they'd done to me. You can stay at the Comfort Inn on 5th, I say, standing up. I'll cover 3 nights. That should give you time to make other arrangements. Rosalie, Mom whispers. We're family. I open my front door. Yes, you made that very clear when you had me sign those papers. Family first, right? They file out one by one, shells of their former selves. As I close the door, I hear Mom ask, What do we do now? I press my forehead against the cool wood and whisper, You're about to find out. I spend the next morning documenting everything, each desperate word, every contradictory explanation. My laptop screen fills with their excuses as I type. A habit I developed after years of gaslighting taught me to trust only what's written down. The doorbell rings at 10 a.m. They're back, looking marginally more put together after a night at the hotel. Mom's even applied fresh lipstick. We need to talk about this rationally, Dad says as they settle onto my sofa again. You're being impulsive. I almost laugh. Impulsive? Like using inherited land as collateral without telling me? That's what we need to explain. Jonah leans forward, his business voice on, the one he used to convince elderly investors to trust him with their life savings. It was a calculated risk. The market was perfect. Nobody could have predicted. Stop. I hold up my hand. Just tell me exactly what happened, from the beginning. Mom jumps in. It started with that wonderful opportunity Jonah found. Premium real estate development. Guaranteed returns. Guaranteed, I repeat, typing. The initial investment was solid. Jonah continues. We doubled our money in 6 months. So naturally we expanded, took out more loans, bought more properties. Using the family land as collateral, I prompt. Well, yes. Dad shifts uncomfortably. But it was a sound business decision. Your brother knows what he's doing. Knew, I correct quietly. Past tense. Jonah's face darkens. Look, the market crashed. It happens, but we can rebuild. We just need somewhere to regroup, and that cottage... Tell me about the other properties, I interrupt. The ones you lost. They exchange glances. Mom speaks first. Well, there was our house, of course, and the vacation home in Lake Tahoe, the apartment buildings downtown, Dad adds, the retail space on 4th Street. All mortgaged to the hilt, I note, still typing. And the investors? Jonah's face goes pale. How do you know about the investors? I read the business section. I turn my laptop around, showing them a local news article, particularly stories about failed investment schemes that leave retirees bankrupt. It wasn't a scheme. Jonah stands up, pacing. Everything was properly registered. We just got in over our heads. Sit down, I say quietly. He does, surprisingly. Honey. Mom reaches for my hand. I pull back. We know we should have told you about using the land, but we didn't want to worry you. You were always so emotional about things. Emotional. I let the word hang there. Like when I found out you'd used my inheritance as collateral 1 week after I signed it over. You found out? Dad's voice is sharp. I had a friend at the county records office. I pull out another document. She sent me a copy the day it was filed. I've known for 7 years. The silence in the room is deafening. 7 years, Jonah whispers. You've been planning this for 7 years. Planning what? I ask innocently. I simply educated myself, learned about finance, law, business, all those things you said I was too flighty to understand. But why didn't you say anything? Mom's voice trembles. Would you have listened? I stand up, walking to my window. Or would you have told me I was being dramatic, oversensitive, paranoid? We were trying to protect you, Dad insists. I turn back to them. No, you were protecting him. I point at Jonah. Like you always have. And now look where it's got you. So this is revenge? Jonah sneers. Real mature, sis. Revenge would be pressing charges for fraud, I say calmly. This is just karma. Mom starts crying again. Please, Rosie, we have nowhere else to go. Actually, you do. I hand them each a printed sheet. I've made a list of affordable apartments in the area. There's also information about job placement services and financial counseling. Job placement? Dad looks offended. We're not charity cases. No, I agree. You're just people who need to learn what it's like to start over, like I did. Technically, Jonah says, his voice hard, you still signed that land over to me. I smile for the first time. Technically, you signed it away when you used it as collateral without my knowledge. But please, feel free to check with your lawyers. Oh, wait. I pause. They dropped you too, didn't they? They stare at me like they're seeing a stranger. Maybe they are. I have a meeting, I say, gathering my laptop. You can see yourselves out. At the door, Mom turns back. What happened to you, Rosie? Nothing happened to me, I reply. I just stopped letting you tell me who I was. As I close the door, I hear Jonah say, She's bluffing about the land. She has to be. I smile again, thinking about the construction crew starting work tomorrow. They'll find out soon enough. You found what? I remember asking Sabrina 7 years ago, my hands shaking as I held the county records printout. They used the land as collateral exactly 1 week after you signed, she'd said, her voice crackling over the phone. I'm so sorry, Rosalie. That memory floods back as I sit in Tiffany's office, watching my attorney spread documents across her desk. The afternoon sun catches her reading glasses as she points to various highlighted sections. The beauty of it, Tiffany says, is that they did all the work for us. The moment they used the property as collateral without your knowledge or consent, they violated the terms of the original transfer. But that was years ago, I say. Why didn't we act then? Tiffany smiles. Because waiting was smarter. We let them dig their own grave. Now, with the foreclosure, the property's vulnerable. And guess who's been quietly building the perfect business entity to acquire it? She slides a folder toward me. Inside is the paperwork for Harper Sanctum LLC, my new wellness retreat company. Sign here, she says, then catches herself. Sorry, bad choice of words. I laugh, but it's hollow. No, it's perfect, actually. Full circle. The pen feels heavy in my hand as I sign, not with hesitation, but with the weight of 7 years planning. Now, Tiffany continues, about that cottage they mentioned. Already handled, I say. The demolition crew starts next week. You're not wasting any time. They didn't waste any time using my inheritance as collateral, I counter. Why should I waste time turning it into something better? My phone buzzes, a text from Sabrina. Lunch? You need to tell me everything. 20 minutes later, I'm sliding into our usual booth at Carlo's Cafe, where Sabrina's already ordered my usual iced tea. "Spill," she demands. "How did they look when they showed up?" "Broken," I admit. "But not sorry, just desperate. And you're sure about this retreat center idea?" I pull out my tablet, showing her the renderings. "Look at this. Solar-powered buildings, meditation gardens, workshop spaces. Everything I wanted to do with the art gallery they mocked me for." "It's beautiful," she says softly. "But what about—" "The cottage," I finish. "It's got black mold and a failing foundation. Keeping it would be a liability." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." I set down my tea. "They made their choices, Sabrina. For years they chose Jonah's schemes over my stability. They chose manipulation over honesty. They chose—" "I know what they chose," she interrupts. "I was there. Remember? I watched you rebuild yourself. But this is different. This is—" "Justice," I say firmly. "Is it? Or is it—" The cafe door chimes and we both look up. Jonah walks in, spots me, and makes a beeline for our table. "We need to talk," he says, ignoring Sabrina completely. We already did. Twice. "I spoke to a lawyer." He plants his hands on our table. "He says there might be grounds to challenge—" "Let me guess," I interrupt. "He wants a retainer? Money up front." I watch his face fall. That's what I thought. "You can't just take everything," he hisses. "Actually, I didn't take anything. You lost it. All of it. I'm just reclaiming what was mine to begin with." Sabrina clears her throat. "I think you should leave, Jonah." He straightens up, trying to recover his dignity. "This isn't over." Actually, it is. I pull out my phone and show him the construction company's confirmation email. "Demolition starts Monday." "Demolition?" His face goes white. "Of what?" "The cottage. It's a safety hazard. The whole property's being renovated for the retreat center." "You're lying. Drive out there Monday morning," I suggest. "Watch them tear it down. Maybe it'll help you understand how I felt 7 years ago, watching you tear apart my trust." He storms out, nearly knocking over a waitress in his haste. "That was cold," Sabrina says quietly. "No," I correct her. Cold was watching them smile while I signed away my inheritance. Cold was discovering they'd already planned to use it as collateral. Cold was 7 years of them thinking they got away with it. "And what about you?" she asks. "What happens after the demolition, after the retreat center's built? Does it heal anything?" I look down at my tea, watching the ice cube slowly melt. "I'm not looking for healing. I'm looking for closure." "Those aren't always different things," she says wisely. My phone buzzes again. An email from the permit office. Final approval for construction. "It's done," I say, showing her the screen. "No going back now." "There never was," she replies. "Not since the day they betrayed you." I stare out the cafe window, watching people pass by. Somewhere across town, my family is probably scrambling for solutions, calling in favors, realizing how many bridges Jonah has burned. "Monday morning," I murmur. Everything changes Monday morning. The demolition crew arrives at dawn. I stand at the edge of the property, clipboard in hand, watching the machines roll in. The cottage looks smaller than I remember, its weathered walls almost apologetic in the early morning light. "Ms. Harper?" A deep voice behind me. I turn to find a tall man in a hard hat, work boots caked with mud. "I'm Noel, the site supervisor. We spoke on the phone." "Right," I say, shaking his offered hand. Everything ready to go? Just need your final signature. He hands me a form, studies my face as I sign. You sure about this? Old places like this, they hold a lot of memories. That's exactly why it needs to go. He nods, not pushing further. Well, we'll start with the interior strip, then. A car screeches to a halt behind us. Mom's voice rings out. Stop! You can't do this! I turn to see my parents rushing toward us, Jonah right behind them. They look like they haven't slept. This is private property, I say calmly. You're trespassing. Private property? Dad sputters. This is our family home. Was, I correct. Now it's the future site of Harper Sanctum Retreat Center. I gesture to the architectural renderings posted on a nearby board. Noel steps forward, positioning himself slightly between me and my family. Folks, this is an active construction site. You'll need to leave. She's my daughter, Mom pleads. This is just a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I say. Noel, please proceed as planned. He signals to his crew. The machines roar to life. Wait! Jonah runs toward the cottage. 2 security guards I hired intercept him. You'll regret this, Dad shouts over the noise. You're destroying your heritage! Heritage? I laugh. Like you destroyed my inheritance? The first wall comes down with a thunderous crack. Mom screams. I don't flinch. Clear the site. Noel orders the guards. They escort my family back to their car. I watch until they drive away, then release a breath I didn't know I was holding. That was intense, Noel comments, still standing nearby. You okay? Fine. I straighten my jacket. The foundations need to be completely removed. We'll need solid ground for the new buildings. About that, he pulls out some blueprints. I had some thoughts about the meditation garden placement. Mind if I show you? We spend the next hour walking the property, Noel pointing out natural features I'd never noticed. The way the land slopes perfectly for a terraced garden, a cluster of old oaks that could shelter an outdoor yoga platform. You've really thought this through, I say, surprised. I like knowing the story behind my projects. He pauses. Helps me build something that matters. And what story do you think this is? He looks at me directly. Redemption, maybe. Or resurrection. Taking something broken and making it beautiful again. That's surprisingly poetic for a contractor. I contain multitudes. He grins. Speaking of which, want to grab coffee? These demolition days can be longer than you expect. I hesitate. I should stay and supervise. That's what you pay me for. He gestures to the crew, efficiently clearing debris. They know what they're doing. Before I can answer, my phone rings. It's Sabrina. Turn on the local news, she says without preamble. I pull up the stream on my phone. Jonah's face fills the screen, standing outside the property gates. My sister is destroying a historic family property, he's saying to a reporter. She's letting her emotions override common sense, just like she always has. Mute that, Noel says quietly. You don't need to hear it, but I keep listening as Jonah spins his tale of family discord and my supposed instability. It's the same story they've always told, just with a bigger audience. Coffee sounds good, actually, I say, shutting off the stream. I know a place. At Carlo's, away from the dust and noise, Noel asks the question I've been dreading. Why a retreat center? Because they never thought I could run anything, I admit. Every business idea I had, they shot down. Too risky, too emotional, too... me. And now? Now I'm proving them wrong. On my terms. He stirs his coffee thoughtfully. You know, I've built a lot of things for a lot of people. Most of them were running towards something. You seem to be running from something. Is there a difference? Usually is. He looks up. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a contractor who reads too much poetry. For the first time in days, I laugh genuinely. You're not what I expected. Neither are you, I'm guessing. To them, at least. He nods toward the TV above the bar, still showing Jonah's interview. My phone buzzes. Photos from the site. The cottage is completely down now, just a blank space where it once stood. Clean slate, Noel comments, looking at the pictures. Question is, what are you going to build on it? I look at him, really look at him, and feel something shift. Something true, I say finally. Something mine. He smiles. That's a good place to start. You're being hysterical, Rosie. Mom's voice echoes in my head as I sort through old family photos. Always so dramatic about everything. I'm in my home office, preparing for a meeting with my parents, one they don't know about yet. The photos tell a story they never wanted to see. Jonah front and center in every shot. Me pushed to the edges, sometimes literally cropped out. My doorbell rings. Right on time. Come in, I call out. Sabrina enters, carrying a thick manila envelope. You sure about this? She asks, setting it down. Once you show them these documents, there's no going back. They crossed that line years ago. I open the envelope, spreading out its contents. Did you find everything? Every email, every bank transfer, every hidden agreement. She points to one particular document. This one's the smoking gun, dated 3 months before they had you sign over the land. The paper outlines their entire plan, using my emotional instability as grounds to gain control of my inheritance, then leveraging it for Jonah's business ventures, all laid out in black and white in my father's meticulous handwriting. Perfect timing, I say as my phone buzzes. They're here. Mom and Dad enter cautiously, looking less polished than usual. 2 weeks of hotel living will do that. What's this about, Rosalie? Dad asks, eyeing the papers on my desk. Sit down. I gesture to the chairs. We need to talk about what really happened 7 years ago. We've been through this. Mom sighs. We were protecting you. Really? I slide the handwritten document across the desk. Is that what you call this? Dad's face goes ash white as he recognizes his own writing. Mom grabs it, scanning quickly. Where did you get this? She whispers. Turns out your perfect son wasn't so careful with his files during the bankruptcy. Sabrina speaks up. Amazing what people leave behind when they're running from creditors. You went through our private papers? Dad's voice rises. Like you went through my medical records, I counter. Using my therapy sessions after Mom's cancer scare to build a case against my stability? Mom flinches. We never. Stop lying. I slam my hand on the desk. It's all here. Every manipulation, every planned conversation, every orchestrated family meeting to convince me I couldn't handle my own inheritance. We were trying to protect me? No, you were protecting him. I pull out more documents. Here's Jonah's first failed business, covered up with my trust fund money. Here's the second one, buried under refinanced loans. Here's the email where you plan to use my emotional problems as leverage if I ever discovered the truth. Tears stream down Mom's face. Dad just stares at his own handwriting. Did you ever actually believe in me? I ask quietly. Or was I just the backup plan for when Jonah inevitably failed? You don't understand, Dad starts. I understand perfectly. I understand that you gaslit me for years, made me question my own judgment, my own memories. I understand that you chose Jonah's gambling addiction. Yes, I know about that too. Over my stability. He needed help, Mom pleads. And I didn't. When I wanted to open that art gallery, when I had actual business plans and market research, where was your help then? That was different, Dad mutters. Yes, it was, because I would have succeeded. I stand up, just like I'm succeeding now. By destroying our family? Mom asks. No, you did that. I'm just refusing to play my assigned role anymore. My phone buzzes again, a text from Noel. Foundations are clear, ready when you are. The retreat center opens in 3 months, I tell them. It's already fully booked for the first year. Turns out my emotional understanding of people makes for good business planning. Rosalie, Dad tries one last time. We can still fix this. As a family. We stopped being a family the day you decided I was a problem to manage, rather than a daughter to support. I gather the documents. These copies are yours to keep. The originals are with my lawyer. Is this blackmail? Dad asks incredulously. No, it's closure. I don't want anything from you anymore. I just want you to know that I know, that I've always known, on some level, and that I'm done letting you write my story. They sit there, defeated, clutching the evidence of their betrayal. Sabrina will show you out, I say, turning to the window. Don't contact me again unless it's through my attorney. After they leave, Sabrina returns to find me still staring out the window. You okay? No, I admit. But I will be. I pick up my phone to text Noel back. Start the next phase. It's time to build something new. The sun sets over the construction site in the distance, where tomorrow concrete will be poured into the space where my past once stood. Sometimes I'm learning. You have to break ground to break free. The local cafe buzzes with morning regulars when Jonah bursts in, making a beeline for my table. I've been expecting this. News travels fast in small towns, especially news about multi-million-dollar wellness retreats nearing completion. You're going to destroy this family, he announces loudly, drawing every eye in the place. I take a calm sip of my coffee. Pretty sure you already did that with your investment schemes. At least I was trying to build something. He slams his hands on my table. Not tear everything down out of spite. Is that what you call defrauding retirees? Building something? The cafe falls silent. Jonah's face reddens. You don't know what you're talking about, he hisses. Actually, I do. I pull out my tablet. Mr. Peterson, the retired teacher who lost his pension. Mrs. Rodriguez, who had to sell her house. Should I go on? That was business, he sputters. Sometimes investments don't pan out. Funny how none of your investments ever pan out, but you always manage to walk away unscathed. Well, until now. A man approaches our table, Mike, one of the contractors who bid on the retreat project. Sorry to interrupt, Mike says, not sounding sorry at all, but I couldn't help overhearing. You're Jonah, right? The one who offered me 10 grand to delay construction? Jonah's face goes from red to white. What? I set down my coffee. Yeah, approached me right after I submitted my bid, Mike continues. Said he'd pay cash if I found problems with the foundation work. That's why I withdrew my bid. Didn't want any part of that mess. You're lying, Jonah snaps. Got the texts to prove it. Mike pulls out his phone. Want to see them? I wave him off. No need. This is exactly what I'd expect from my brother. You think you're so perfect, Jonah sneers. Little Rosie finally getting her revenge. This isn't revenge. I stand up slowly. This is consequences. Something you've managed to avoid your entire life. Because I was protecting our family. By stealing my inheritance? By manipulating Mom and Dad? By trying to sabotage my project? The cafe owner, Maria, steps forward. I think you should leave, sir. Stay out of this, Jonah warns. No, you stay out of this, Maria replies firmly. Rosalie's been coming here for years. She's good people. You're just making a scene. Other regulars start to stand. The morning crowd knows me. They've watched me plan this project for months, seen me work with local vendors, hire local staff. You've turned everyone against me, Jonah accuses. No, you did that all on your own. I gather my things. Just like you turned Mom and Dad's retirement into your personal gambling fund. That's not true. Here's what's true, Jonah. The retreat opens in 2 weeks. It's fully booked for a year. I've hired 30 local people, partnered with 15 local businesses, and created something that will actually help people. While we're homeless. You have options. I gave you lists of apartments, job resources, but instead of using them, you're here, trying to intimidate me in public. Because you're heartless. He spits. You don't care about family at all. My phone buzzes. A text from Noel. Gates are being installed today. Want to come see? I look back at Jonah, seeing him clearly for the first time. Not the golden boy, not the successful son, just a desperate man who never learned to stand on his own. You're right, I say quietly. I don't care about family, at least not the way you define it. Family isn't about loyalty to lies. It's not about sacrificing one child for another. And it's definitely not about what you and our parents did to me. Rosalie. I'm done. I pull out an envelope and hand it to him. This is an official notice. You, Mom, and Dad are banned from the property. Try to enter, and you'll be arrested for trespassing. You can't do this! I already did. I walk to the door, then turn back. Oh, and Jonah? The next time you try to bribe one of my contractors, make sure they don't know me first. The cafe erupts in quiet murmurs as I leave. Through the window I see Maria pointing Jonah toward the exit. Outside I text Noel back. On my way. Save me a spot with a good view. My phone rings. It's Mom. I decline the call and see her voicemail pop up immediately. Rosie, please. Your father's not well. This stress is killing him. We need to talk about this as a family. I delete it without listening further. They had 7 years to talk as a family. Now they can talk to my lawyers. The morning sun feels warm on my face as I drive toward the property, my property. Toward the gates that will finally, permanently, keep my past where it belongs. Behind me, they're here. Noel says quietly, touching my arm. We stand behind the newly installed security booth, watching my family's car approach the gates. The morning fog hasn't lifted yet, making the scene feel almost dreamlike. The wrought iron gates gleam despite the mist, the gold lettering catching what little sunlight breaks through. Harper Sanctum, Private Retreat, Est, by Rosalie Harper. Their car stops. For a moment, nobody moves. You don't have to do this, Noel reminds me. Security can handle it. No. I straighten my jacket. I need to see their faces. They exit the car slowly, taking in the transformation. Where a humble cottage once stood, now rises an elegant complex of modern buildings, connected by stone pathways and meditation gardens. The old oak trees frame it perfectly, just as Noel predicted they would. What? Mom's voice breaks. What have you done? Created something beautiful, I say, stepping into view. Something worthy of the land you tried to steal. Steal? Dad's face flushes. We gave you every opportunity. To do what you wanted, I interrupt. To be who you wanted. To sign what you wanted. I gesture to the retreat center. This is who I actually am. Jonah walks up to the gates, gripping the bars. This is insane. You've lost your mind. Actually, I press a button on my phone, and the fountain in the central garden springs to life. I found it. Found myself. No thanks to any of you. Please. Mom steps forward. We can still fix this. We're staying at that horrible motel. Your father's health is declining. Don't. I cut her off. Don't try to manipulate me with guilt. Not anymore. Manipulate? She looks wounded. I'm your mother. Are you? Because mothers don't gaslight their daughters. They don't use therapy sessions against them. They don't... You ungrateful little... Jonah lunges at the gate, making it rattle. Noel steps forward, hand raised. That's enough. Step back from the gate. Or what? Jonah sneers. In answer, 2 security guards emerge from the booth, hands on their radios. This is private property, I say calmly, and you've been served notice to stay away. Leave now, or they'll call the police. You can't do this! Jonah yells, his voice echoing across the grounds. You can't just take everything! I didn't take anything, I reply. I built this, with my own money, my own plans, my own vision. Everything you see here, I created it. While you were destroying people's lives with your schemes, I was building something real. Real? Dad scoffs. A retreat center. This isn't a real business. Our booking revenue says otherwise. I pull out my phone, showing them the numbers. Fully booked for a year. Wait list for the next 2 years. Local businesses fighting for partnership opportunities. They stare at the figures, faces dropping as they realize the scale of what I've built. This could have been different. I continue softly. 7 years ago, when I wanted to start small with an art gallery, you could have supported me. Instead, you convinced me I was incapable, unstable, unworthy. So, I learned. I grew. I planned. And now, I press another button. The gates begin to close automatically. Now, I don't need your approval anymore. Rosalie! Mom calls out desperately. We're your family. No. I shake my head. You're just people who share my DNA. Family doesn't do what you did to me. The gates click shut. Through the bars, I watch their faces transform. Mom's tears, Dad's anger, Jonah's hatred. You'll regret this, Jonah spits. You'll end up alone. I'm not alone. I feel Noel's steady presence behind me. Think of Sabrina's unwavering support. Remember the community that's rallied around this project. I'm just not with you anymore. Security steps forward, making it clear it's time for them to leave. They retreat to their car slowly, Mom looking back repeatedly, Dad supporting himself on Jonah's arm. As they drive away, Noel touches my shoulder. You okay? I watch their car disappear into the fog. I don't know. That's fair, he says. Want to walk the grounds? The morning mist makes everything look magical. I look up at him, this unexpected ally who became something more. Yeah. I manage a small smile. Show me those yoga platforms you were talking about. As we walk the winding paths, the sun finally breaks through, illuminating the retreat center in all its glory. My vision made real. My inheritance reclaimed. My life finally my own. Behind us, the gates stand firm, their golden letters catching the light. Harper Sanctum. Not just a name anymore, but a promise, a sanctuary, a new beginning. And this time, I hold all the keys. The morning of Harper Sanctum's opening day, I sit in my office, watching the sunrise paint the meditation gardens in gold. A stack of letters sits on my desk, all from my family, all unopened. A knock at my door. Ready? Sabrina asks, poking her head in. Almost. I pick up the letters. Just need to do one last thing. Outside, the stone fire pit still holds embers from last night's test run. I drop the letters in, watching them catch flame. You're not even curious what they say? Sabrina asks. I know what they say. More guilt, more manipulation, more... Actually, a voice interrupts. They say, I'm sorry. I turn to find a woman standing there, mid-30s, familiar features that take me a moment to place. Amanda? I haven't seen my cousin since we were teenagers. Hey, stranger. She steps forward. Got your invitation to the opening. Bold move, sending one to the whole extended family. I wanted them to see, I admit, what I built. Oh, they see. She gestures to the retreat center. And they're talking about how you did this alone, how they were wrong. Even Aunt Penelope, your mom, she's been... different. Different how? Honest, for once. About what they did to you. About Jonah's gambling. About all of it. Amanda sits on one of the meditation benches. Dad showed me those documents you found. The ones about their plan to take your inheritance. I sit beside her. And it made me sick, because I remembered how they treated you back then. How we all just watched it happen. The fire pit crackles, consuming the last of the letters. I should have stood up for you, Amanda continues. We all should have. Why didn't you? Because it was easier not to. Because Jonah was so convincing. Because... She stops. No more excuses. Noel approaches with clipboard in hand. First guests arrive in an hour. Need anything? Just a minute, I tell him. He nods, understanding. You know what really got me? Amanda says after he leaves. That art gallery idea of yours. I found your old business plan in Dad's files. It was brilliant. Would have worked perfectly in that downtown area. That's ancient history. Is it? Because this place... She gestures around. This is that same vision, just bigger, better. You took their rejection and turned it into something extraordinary. The morning sun catches the retreat center's windows, making them gleam like mirrors. They're not coming today, are they? I ask quietly. No, but not because they don't want to, because they finally understand they don't have the right. Amanda stands. They're getting help, you know? All of them. Real help, not just throwing money at problems. Good for them. Good for you, she corrects, because you forced them to face themselves. Your success here? It's not just a business triumph. It's a mirror showing them exactly who they are, Noel returns. Sorry, but we really need to review the opening ceremony schedule. Go, Amanda says. Do your thing. Just keep sending those invitations, okay? Some of us are listening now. After she leaves, Noel hands me the clipboard. Interesting conversation? Unexpected, I reply. Like everything else lately. He smiles. Speaking of unexpected, he pulls out a small package. Early housewarming gift. Or retreat warming, I guess. Inside is a handmade sign, carved from wood. Welcome to Harper Sanctum, where healing begins. You made this? That poetry reading contractor thing isn't just for show. He shrugs. Thought it might look good by the entrance. I trace the letters with my finger. It's perfect. Like someone else I know, he says softly. Before I can respond, guests start arriving. Early birds eager to be first through the gates. I watch them enter, faces bright with anticipation. Ready to welcome them home? Noel asks. Home. Such a loaded word. But looking at my retreat center, at the gardens designed for healing, the spaces built for growth, the gates that now protect instead of imprison, I realize something. You know what Amanda said about this place being a mirror? Yeah. She's wrong. It's not a mirror showing them who they are. I take his hand. It's a mirror showing me who I've become. The morning bell chimes, calling the first guests to orientation. My staff, all local, all carefully chosen, begin their choreographed welcome. Time to begin, I say. No! Noel squeezes my hand. Time to continue. You began long ago, when you first refused to believe their lies about who you were. Together, we walk toward the gathering crowd. The fire pit's flames have died, the letters nothing but ash. Behind us, the gates stand open, not to the past, but to possibility. And for the first time since this all began, I feel completely, utterly free.